This was a while ago. I used to drive this worn-out car I bought off my cousin about 5 years ago. It would need mechanical attention consistently, and I was fed up with it. However, considering my salary and circumstances back then, that's all I could afford. The car had introduced a very creative issue. Every time it would touch the speed of 90 kilometers, the engine would growl and shut down almost immediately. It won't turn back on for about 20 minutes. It was a hassle. I had a job interview in Toronto and I lived in London, Ontario. It's about a 3-hour drive. I got the interview call on a short notice, and it was too expensive for me to book a bus ride at that point. So I came up with a plan. I decided to take my car, but drive to Toronto through backcountry roads and not the highway. That way, I won't need to speed it up past 80 kilometers. It will take longer, but I will get there safely. The interview was on Wednesday, and I decided to leave on Tuesday and stay at my uncle for the night who lived in Toronto. I left around 4 p.m. and did not take the highway. The plan worked out splendidly. I reached there safely. The car did not break down on me even though I made stops along the way. Had dinner at my uncle's. Prepared for my interview once more and made sure I had all the documents I needed for the next day. Went to bed and had a restful night. Woke up in the morning, went for a run, showered, and had an amazing breakfast. Even though the office I had to get to was just 25 minutes away, I still took my uncle's car to avoid the risks associated with my car. Arrived at the interview and got done in about 45 minutes. Returned to my uncle's place. Later, him along with my cousins there decided to hang out, which was a normality each time I went to their place as we barely saw each other. We went for a movie, followed by dinner. I was so excited about how well the interview went, followed by the rest of the day, I completely forgot what a wreck my car is. It was 9 p.m. and I was still in Toronto. I quickly said my goodbyes and left for home. Now, the thing about driving between Toronto and London is that there's a lot of nothingness in the middle. You'd be okay on a highway, but through city and country roads, you'd constantly find yourself driving through fields and truly secluded roads. Those roads are scenic during the daytime, but quite eerie at night. I left Toronto, crossed Milton in about an hour, and still had about 2 hours to go. At this point, I found myself in the middle of nowhere, just dark back roads taking me from one city to another. I was driving patiently. Soon, I saw a gas station on the side of the road and decided to pull in for some gas. I like to buy one of those iced teas and chips during such drives, so got them too, and I was on the road right away. 15 minutes in the drive, still on the dark country road, I saw a car coming up behind me at a high rate of speed. I looked into my rearview mirror and figured it would simply pass me like most cars do. That did not happen. It slowed down and matched my speed about 3 car lengths behind me and began to high beam me. I could not drive any faster than I already was. If I did, I'd be risking being stranded in the middle of nowhere due to the condition of my car. Even though it was a 1-lane road, I tried to swerve to the right and left, allowing him to pass me. He kept pacing me. At this point, it was just him and me on that road. Due to the headlights beaming at me, I could not make out the kind of motor vehicle he was driving. 10 to 12 minutes had passed by, and he was still tailgating me. I was annoyed and weirded out by him, so I decided to pull over to my right onto the shoulder so he could pass me and essentially leave me alone. So I did just that. I gave my right indicator, slowed down, pulled over to the right shoulder, giving him all the space to drive through. I stopped. He did pass me, but as he did, he slowed down. At this point, I could see it was a gray pickup truck. It looked old and not washed in weeks. I observed the truck to slow down even more, and at a distance of maybe 10 cars, it came to a full stop in the middle of the road. Seeing that, 1,000 things went through my mind. Is he just messing with me? Does he want to talk? Is he upset and now I am stuck in a road rage situation? I wasn't sure what to do. Still, I went with my instincts and took pictures of the number plate. I waited for a few minutes that felt like eternity. No one stepped out of that vehicle, and there was no way I was going to approach him. It started to freak me out. I decided to drive past him. As I put my car into drive mode, my lights turned on and illuminated the back of the truck. I looked at the rear windshield and noticed something strange. I felt like there was someone looking back at me. I thought about it and finally gathered courage to turn on my high beam to clearly see what was behind that rear windshield of the truck. I shouldn't have done that. I immediately saw a face pushed against the glass from the inside of the pickup truck. I could tell it was a man. He looked mid-aged, bald, eyes wide open, staring at me like an animal looks at its prey. He looked angry, and the scariest part was, his lips were moving as if he is talking. I slowly came to realize that he was not talking. He was yelling. He was flailing his hands and pointing fingers at me while screaming aggressively, and all of that was directed towards me. On one hand, I was scared. On the other, I was thinking, he must know that I can't hear him, right? We are in our vehicles with windows up and few meters away from each other. It just freaked me out more. This person was unstable. I quickly took a U-turn and decided to aim for that gas station I was at a few minutes ago. I thought, even if I end up calling the police, it would be easier for them to find me there than anywhere else in the middle of nowhere. I completed my U-turn and started driving. I looked into the rearview mirror, hoping he won't be there. To my horror, he was behind me, matching my speed with high beams on. As I was driving in fear, my general instinct was to drive as fast as I possibly could, but I had to keep my speed below 90 kilometers, and that was agonizing. I grabbed my phone and called 911.
911, what's your emergency, please?
I told the operator the whole situation and shared the location of the gas station I'd be at. I also shared the plate number of the truck. They gave me a vague ETA, but I was hopeful to see them at the gas station before I reach. I finally made it to the gas station, and to my disappointment, the police wasn't there. I thought, at least I won't be alone there. But it had closed by then. There was absolutely no one present. I pulled in the gas station as I wasn't sure what else to do. My car was facing the road, and for a minute I didn't see anyone approaching. Then, I saw the same truck driving towards the gas station at a very sinister and slow speed. Once his driver's window was facing my vehicle, he stopped and pulled on the side of the road and stayed there. There was no activity from his end, but I was extremely aware that I'm being stared at by someone who is possibly out of his mind and potentially dangerous. I could feel his ominous energy. With my eyes fixated on him, I called the 911 again, and the operator told me it'll be a while, as a few other emergencies came up that took priority over my situation. I was devastated. I thought if I stay stationary and don't move, maybe nothing would happen, and before I know it, the police will arrive. Few minutes went by and something horrifying happened. There was a dark field opposite the gas station at the other side of the road. I observed shadow-like movements. I couldn't tell if my mind is playing tricks on me or there are actual human figures coming out of the darkness. I rubbed my eyes, and the moving figures did not go away. To be certain, I turned on the high beam again. Right away, I saw about 7 men dressed like lumberjacks sneaking out of the field. They all had a strange expression, as if they were manically happy to see me. Wide eyes and wide smiles, slowly approaching me. Soon after that, the man from the gray truck stepped out of the vehicle and just stared at me angrily. I did my due diligence. I was 24 and by no means a big guy. I realized the only thing that could save me was my car. I won't be able to defend myself if I stay put. I'd need to take the risk. I'd need to drive it as fast as I can. So I did. The gas station was 5 minutes away from the highway. I was avoiding it earlier, but now I had to take my chance. I put my gear in drive mode and sped onto the road through all those men. I may have slightly hit one of them, I'm not sure. I made the turn I needed to get to the highway. I got to the ramp, took it, merged on the highway, and slowly began to speed up. I saw the rear view mirror and the truck was behind me yet again. I was on survival mode and something in me told me to speed up without fear. So I did, and eventually my speed surpassed 90 kilometers. I was on 100, then on 120, and then on 140. Surprisingly, my car did not let me down. Despite its issue, I could drive it as fast as I wanted to, and trust me, I did just that. I did not care if I got pulled over by police. That would actually work out for me. I was blazing through the highway, changing lanes and overtaking other vehicles. I kept checking my rearview mirror, and after about 15 minutes, I did not see that pickup truck behind me. That was the best feeling. I didn't slow down though. I kept driving at a very high speed till I took my exit. I got home, parked my vehicle in my garage, and rushed in. I was finally safe. I stayed up all night replaying the whole event. and wondering what that man in the truck or all those men in the field planned to do. None of it made sense. The next day, I tried to drive my car, and it did not work. It had died completely. It felt like it paid the price to get me home safely. I felt a strange sense of loss and found myself thanking it for assisting me grandly for one last time. Many years have gone by. I have a much better job and a reliable vehicle. Still, to this day, I do my best to avoid backcountry roads. Nothing has matched up to the horror of that night and to the loyalty of that car of mine.